The following morning, by 7 a.m., everyone began entering the dining room for breakfast. Among the early arrivals were Babs and Derin. Babs was surprised to find Abiodun and Kemi sharing a breakfast table, and it made him feel quite uncomfortable. Choosing a table that offered a clear view of theirs, he observed them closely. The ease with which they conversed and laughed bothered Babs. It was evident that Kemi was comfortable in Abiodun's company. This didn't sit well with Babs, and although he attempted to focus on his breakfast, he found he lost his appetite. Meanwhile, Kemi was merely putting on an act. The moment she spotted Babs entering, she initiated a conversation and behaved overly familiar with Abiodun, intentionally aiming to provoke jealousy in Babs. Abiodun said to her with a knowing smile, "So, you fancy him, huh? What are you talking about?" Kemi fringed innocence. "I can tell from the way you suddenly started acting all familiar with me that you were trying to grab his attention. And judging by his reaction, it seems it's working." "I have no idea what you're talking about." "Sure you do. I think you should go for it. He's making a mistake marrying that girl. She's not who she appears to be. Do you know something we don't? I'm not called the original bad boy for nothing. I can sense these things. But don't worry, I'll assist you by pretending we're involved." "And what's in it for you?" Kemi inquired. His expression turned serious. "This is my second divorce, and my wife is aiming to take everything. I can't afford to worsen my situation this weekend. You've been my buffer." Two women showed up at my door last night, offering company. It was tempting, but there's too much at stake for me. And here I thought I was irresistible, Kemi said jokingly. "Undoubtedly, you're the most enchanting woman in this resort, but adding Remy to my problems right now is not an option. He's not someone to underestimate." Throughout the day, it seemed like Babs and Abiodun competed for Kemi's attention. They competed in running, swimming, and squad bike races. At some point, Derin grew bored and headed back to her room. Kemi later retreated to her room for some rest. She ordered room service and skipped lunch with them. Together with Moyo, they had lunch in her room and talked about the event of the afternoon. Moyo warned Kemi to be careful, as things seemed to be getting out of hand. They ended up serving siesta together. Moyo only returned to her room to get ready for the party scheduled for later that night. Abiodun watched Derin closely during the entire lunch session. His instincts rarely fail him, and if his suspicions were correct, Babs had no idea what he was getting himself into by marrying her. Returning to his room after lunch, he made a call. "I'm sending you some information and a photo. I need you to dig for any details you can find on her starting now." After the call, he forwarded all the necessary information. Kemi made a late entrance to the party, and as she arrived, Abiodun was waiting. "You look especially beautiful tonight, Kemi," Abiodun complimented her. "Thank you, and you look sharp." Abiodun chuckled. "Drinks?" "Yes, please." Kemi surveyed the room and spotted Moyo and her husband approaching. "Hey Moyo, where have you been? You've been missing." "This party is amazing," Moyo announced. "You should slow down on the alcohol, Moyo," cautioned Ola. "Come on, babe. What's the essence of going to a party if you can't drink?" Moyo replied. "Ola is right. You know you have a light brain," added Kemi. "Well, this is why he is here, to keep me out of trouble." Abiodun returned with the drinks, and Kemi made the introduction. As Ola and Abiodun talked, Kemi's eyes scanned the hall again. "Are you looking for him?" Moyo whispered. "Who?" Kemi asked. She laughed, clearly having had too much to drink. "Babs, of course. He's on the right side of the hall by the flower pots, looking right at you." As Kemi turned, her eyes met Babs and they locked gazes. It was as if they were the only two people in the room. Just then, Derin appeared beside him, and he looked down at her. Kemi quickly averted her eyes. After a while, Abiodun and Kemi danced. Some of the girls at the party tried to get him to dance with them, but he rejected their advances. After a while, Ola informed Kemi that Moyo was too tipsy, and he was taking her to their room. After they left, Abiodun and Kemi went in search of something to eat. Remy, Emeka, and Babs stood and watched Kemi and Abiodun walk hand in hand towards the buffet. "Abiodun is asking for it tonight," Remy complained. "He's the same old bastard," Emeka added. "I already warned him that if he tried anything with my sister, Lagos would be too small for him to hide." As the discussion unfolded, Babs remained quiet. This is another reason he couldn't entertain the thought of being with Kemi. Remy would never allow it. Remy was too protective of her, even though she was an adult with a boyfriend. At that moment, it didn't occur to Babs that he could fight for Kemi if he wanted to. That's how loyal he was to Remy. After some time, Shalwa approached Remy. "Babe, I need to change into my last dress for tonight." "Another one?" Emeka inquired. "Yes, fashion designers gave me these dresses to showcase for them, knowing the publicity our wedding will get." "Oh, okay, that makes sense. This one you're wearing is perfect." "Who made this?" "Socks Nath." Remy addressed her. "All right, let's go." And to his friends, he said, "Keep an eye on them." While Babs was engaged in a conversation with Emeka and Remy, Derin's phone buzzed and she stepped away from the party to take the call. The caller informed her of their arrival at the resort. In response, she directed them to meet at a particular spot in the resort. Emphasizing the need for discretion, she cautioned the caller to avoid being seen. Derin assured the caller that she would join them as soon as she could slip away without being noticed. Derin ended the call and rejoined the party, seamlessly blending back into the lively atmosphere. As the night progressed, she kept a watchful eye on the time, waiting for the right moment to slip away unnoticed. When the opportunity finally presented itself, Derin excused herself with a casual explanation about needing to freshen up. She navigated through the resort, making her way to the designated meeting point. There, she discreetly handed over her room key and reminded the guests to keep a low profile. Once the exchange was complete, Derin returned to the party, concealing any trace of her secret activities. As the night unfolded, she continued to engage with the other guests, all the while secretly anticipating the moment she could join the newly arrived individual in her room. The resort buzzed with laughter and music, providing the perfect cover for Derin's discreet rendezvous. She noticed that Babs was preoccupied. She discreetly slipped out of the hall and returned to her room. A soft tap on the door 3 times prompted it to open, and she hurriedly entered into the arms of the person waiting inside. They swiftly closed the door behind them. "I'm tired. I'd like to call it a night," Kemi declared to Abiodun. "We have to make it look like we're leaving the room to go do it," he teased. "Do what?" Kemi eyed him. "Do you want your man or not?" Kemi nodded. "Follow my lead." Abiodun held Kemi tightly on the dance floor and created the illusion of a kiss. Babs was on the verge of charging toward Abiodun and Kemi when he witnessed the staged kiss. Emeka, however, pulled him back. "We can't create a scene. Relax." After the simulated kiss, Abiodun and Kemi left the hall hand in hand. "Kemi doesn't know what she's getting herself into," Babs remarked. "I'll go after them to make sure she's safe." "No, I'll do it," Babs insisted. "That's not a good idea. I believe you should keep your distance from Kemi. Whenever you're around her, you act like you don't have a brain." "You day crazy," Babs said. Emeka laughed. "You can't leave your wife here all by herself." "I'll be careful," Bab informed him. Babs then stepped outside and scanned the area around the hall, but there was no sign of them. Determined, he opted to check Kemi's room to see if they were there. Babs escorted Kemi to her room and, bidding her good night, headed to his own room. Kemi was pulling off her dress when she heard a knock on the door, wondering who could be calling at that hour. Quickly donning her robe, she approached the door and was surprised to hear Babs on the other side, asking her to open up. Kemi opened the door, and Babs entered the room without hesitation. He was beside himself with jealousy. "Where is he?" Babs demanded, not waiting for her response as he began searching the room, convinced Abiodun was hiding there. "Where is that son of a bitch, Abiodun?" While he searched the room, Kemi locked the door. Babs searched everywhere and soon realized, too late, that Abiodun wasn't in the room. He had unknowingly backed himself into a difficult situation. "You thought I came up here with Abiodun? Is that how cheap you think I am? What do you want me to think? He's been all over you since he arrived at the resort, and you two were kissing." He exhaled. "Look, I'm sorry, but Abiodun can't be trusted, and we're just looking out for you. I don't need you and your cohort of friends looking out for me. I've been on my own for 10 years, and I can take care of myself." "Fine, I'll leave." As Babs attempted to exit, Kemi stepped in his way. "Kemi, please don't do this. Step aside and let me leave. I shouldn't be here in the first place." The prospect of being alone in a room with her was already playing tricks on his mind. Though she attempted to embrace him, he evaded her. As he struggled to unlock the door, Kemi made a distressed sound. Turning to check on her, he found Kemi in nothing but her underwear, having discarded her robe. "Please, I beg you, Kemi, don't do this. Put on your robe." Ignoring his plea, Kemi moved closer and started kissing his jaw. Despite his attempts to push her away, she maneuvered and kissed him. They found themselves entangled in a passionate embrace, and Babs, overwhelmed, began to lose control. It had been a long time since Babs had been with a woman, and combined with his desire for Kemi, he found himself unable to resist. Kemi proceeded to remove his jacket and shirt, and as she loosened his belt, he suddenly snapped back to reality, realizing the gravity of the situation. In that moment of clarity, Babs abruptly pulled away, putting some distance between himself and Kemi. He hastily retrieved his shirt and jacket, frantically attempting to compose himself. "This can't happen, Kemi," he uttered, his tone a mixture of regret and urgency. "I can't let it happen, it's a sin. I can't do it." Kemi, still wearing only her underwear, looked at him with a mixture of frustration and desire. "Why are you resisting, Babs? We both want this." Babs took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. "It's not right. We can't let it go any further." He moved towards the door, his hand on the knob, determined to leave and put an end to the escalating situation. Kemi, however, stepped in his way, blocking his exit. "Please, Babs, I love you. Let me show you how much." "No, Sex is not the way to express love. If we do this, a lot of people will be hurt. I have to go. You can't just walk away, she insisted, her voice low and seductive. Babs hesitated for a moment, torn between desire and the consequences of succumbing to it. Finally, he mustered the strength to say, I have to. This isn't the right way, Kemi. As he opened the door, he was shocked to find Remy and Emeka standing there. Remy took in the sight of Babs in his disheveled state and Kemi in her underwear, and asked, What is going on here? It's not what you think, Remy. You dare mess around with my sister, Babs? Hey, Remy, nothing happened, okay? Babs replied, trying to defuse the tension. Remy's gaze intensified as he looked from Babs to Kemi. Kemi quickly retrieved her robe and put it on. Emeka, sensing the tension, remained alert. Nothing happened? Remy's skepticism was evident in his tone. Looks like something was about to happen, and that's bad enough. Babs, realizing the gravity of the situation, attempted to explain, Remy, it's not what you think. We were caught up in a moment, but I stopped it before anything could. Before Babs could finish his sentence, Remy bunched him. Hey, Rems, take it easy, Emeka intervened, restraining Remy. How dare you, Remy? Your sister is a full-grown woman in her own right. Babs said, She's still my baby sister, and she's off-limits to you. I thought you were my friend. How can you betray me like this? Remy lunged for Babs again. Stop, Remy, please. Kemi screamed at her brother, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Remy attempted to go after Babs once more, but Emeka held him back. Leave me, let me deal with this guy. You have to calm down. Otherwise, the resort management will throw us out, Emeka advised. Let them try. I'll shut down their resort, Remy declared with anger. Derin, after discreetly escorting her guest out of the resort, was returning to her room, when in the quietness of the night, Kemi's voice reached her ears, leading her to Kemi's door. To her surprise, she was taken aback by the scene that greeted her. What is going on here? Derin asked. Babs, caught in an already tangled situation, tensed at the sound of Derin's voice. Kemi, on the other hand, turned to face Derin, her expression a mix of embarrassment and defiance. Derin, it's not what you think, Kemi attempted to explain, though guilt lingered in her voice. Derin raised an eyebrow, studying the scene before her. Well, it certainly looks like something is happening. Care to enlighten me? Babs, realizing the need to address the situation, stammered Derin. It's a misunderstanding. Kemi and I. Before he could finish his sentence, Derin interrupted. Save it, Babs. I don't want to hear it. She turned to Kemi, a scowl etched across her face. You little tramp, I knew you wanted him. It seems to me you managed to lure him to your bed. Excuse you. How dare you call me a tramp? What are you? Marrying a man who doesn't love you? Kemi retorted, her indignation clear. Please, Kemi, don't do this, Babs implored, attempting to diffuse the escalating tension. You're a fool to think he loves you. He doesn't care about you, he just wanted to get into your pants. Derin shot back at Kemi. Addressing Babs, she added, you're a disappointment to your parents. Remy addresses Kemi. Kemi, back to your room. I'll talk to you later when I'm done with this betrayer who called himself my friend. Don't you dare tell me what to do. You're not my father. I've tolerated your overbearing attitude for so long. Before Remy could respond, Shalwa arrived on the scene with a man. They both stood there, visibly shocked by the unfolding confrontation. Babe, What is going on here? Leke inquired. Leke, what are you doing here? Kemi asked. I came to surprise you. I was finally able to convince my boss to give me a few days off. So you have a boyfriend, and you are sleeping with my fiancé, Derin announced. I beg your pardon? Leke faced Derin and then turned to Kemi. What is she talking about, Kemi? Please disregard her comment. We will talk about this later. Kemi faced her brother, Remy. I am tired of you trying to dictate who I can and cannot be with. I'm a grown woman. I can make my own choices. And is this how you show your maturity? Forcing yourself on a man that is taken? Remy turned to Babs. I will never forgive you for this. Our friendship is over. He attempted to attack Babs again, but Shalwa and Emeka intervened, dragging him away from the escalating confrontation. Our engagement is over. Derin removed her ring, flung it at him, and walked away. Derin, wait. You can't call off the engagement. He picked up the ring and ran after her, leaving Kemi and her boyfriend in the corridor. Kemi turned and entered her room, and Leke followed her. Kemi, please tell me this isn't what I think it is. Nothing happened. What do you mean nothing happened? Did you cheat on me with that guy? No, I didn't. But you were going to. You are naked. I'm not naked. You know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. And why didn't you tell me you were coming? Because I wanted to surprise you, but you surprised me instead. Kemi, I can't even believe you would do something like this. How long has this been going on? I don't owe you any explanation, Leke. I beg your pardon. To think I came here to propose. Fine, my parents' driver is still waiting. I will leave. Leke let himself out, and Kemi slumped on the couch, her mind racing with a mixture of emotions. Shock, remorse, and a painful sense of loss. As Kemi tried to process the events, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Leke. I can't believe you'd do this, Kemi. I thought we had something special. It's over. Tears welled up in Kemi's eyes as the reality of the situation sank in. It was never her intention to hurt Leke, but it seems she has made a mess of the situation, and her action has hurt many people.